in January 2023, Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives proposed a bill, H.R. 25, the Fair Tax Act, which would have abolished income taxes altogether and institute a 23% sales tax in its place to be administered by the states. One issue is if the bill had passed, those added costs of sales tax would have disproportionately affected low and middle income Americans. According to a poll conducted by AmeriLife, 64% of Americans are now living paycheck to paycheck. So any costs added to a bag of groceries really affects most Americans. The bill would have rolled back our redistribution policies back about 135 years as well in the United States. Also, our income taxes were created by an amendment process, and it takes an amendment to do away with another amendment. So in a very real sense, the bill would have been unconstitutional as soon as it was signed into law. Ratifying an amendment in the United States takes a lot of work and a lot of consensus. It takes 2/3 of Congress members, the United States House of Representatives, and the United States Senate, and it also takes 3/4 of the states. It may be hard to believe that creating income taxes was popular enough to have created the 16th Amendment in 1913. Paying income taxes is not exactly popular today. However, the alternative for paying for government expenses was even less popular in that day, and it involved tariffs. So let's go back to a time before we had peacetime income taxes in the United States, all the way back to 1890, when the U.S. House Representative William McKinley was not president yet. He helped write the Tariff Act of 1890, which raised the average duty cost on imported goods by almost 50%. The tariff was not well received by Americans who had to pay the extra costs of prices. It was in fact so unpopular that a populist political party was formed with roots in an alliance of farmers who were particularly hurt by tariffs and the counter tariffs imposed by other nations that made American produce more expensive to buy in other nations, for example. There have been times when American farmers have actually produced more grain than Americans needed, and they wanted to sell the surplus abroad at a good price. Well, in 1894, the U.S. Congress passed the Revenue Act, which reduced tariff rates and imposed a 2% tax, an income tax, on people who made over $4,000 at the time. That's about 2% on incomes of about $125,000 today. However, the U.S. Supreme Court at the time supported economic liberalism. They didn't like trade or commerce restrictions, and they ruled against measures in the bill that would tax individual or corporate income wealth. In the words of the lone dissenter in that decision, Associate Justice Henry Billings Brown, the majority justices had ruled to surrender the taxing power in the nation to the moneyed classes. When the Supreme Court rules a bill unconstitutional, the only way around that really is to create an amendment. The Populist Party in the United States and other groups in the U.S. believed that tariffs unfairly taxed middle America, and they favored using the income tax to shift the burden onto wealthier Americans, many of whom lived along the eastern coast, including the robber barons, the billionaires of their day. In 1909, a debate in the U.S. House of Representatives about imposing more income taxes led to discussions on a 16th Amendment creating income taxes, and the income tax system would become a progressive income tax system, in which the wealthiest people in the United States would pay a higher percentage of their income to pay for U.S. expenses and programs. Progressive income taxes took much of the tax burden off of middle and lower income Americans who would not have to pay the de facto sales taxes imposed by tariffs and duties. Income taxes were overwhelmingly preferred to added tariffs, duties, or sales tax, which is why the 16th Amendment was supported by moderate Republicans and most Democrats alike.